So if you've clicked this video, you probably already know what homebrewing means. There's not a lot of discussion to be had around the definition of the word. However, for the sake of content and for framing the discussion going forward, I want to tell you what it means to me. But more importantly, there's a bigger discussion to be had about context and perspective. And what I'm really asking is, what does homebrewing mean to you? So the dictionary, or I guess Wikipedia, defines homebrewing as making alcoholic beverages, using yeast to turn sugar into ethanol, but specifically at small scale and for personal use. So that's the home part of homebrewing. It doesn't necessarily mean in your home, although many of us use our kitchens and basements and whatever else. What it means is for yourself and friends and family and, at small scale, small batches. And I think that's a very important distinction because commercial brewers have a very different approach and goals and purpose behind what they're doing, even though the fermentation is obviously the same. And so the result is that the conversation is different. The best practices and the processes and the things you're trying to learn are very different as a home brewer. And so speaking of fermentation, that's the brewing part of home brewing. I consider things like distillation a different hobby despite the overlap. And fermented foods like kimchi or bread are cooking, not home brewing. Now, sometimes I feel like the term brewing is used specifically for beer making. And I can kind of see the connection there. There's sort of a imagery thing going on. The idea of, a witch standing over the cauldron, stirring the potion, it's kind of visually similar to the brewer standing over the brew kettle, stirring the mash paddle. But I don't think of it that way. To me, homebrewing is more of a catch-all term. It's beer brewing, but it's also wine making and mead making, and cider, and the crazy shit that they make over on the Prison Hooch subreddit. After all, it's literally the same process. Beer is slightly more complex with the mash and the boil, but other than that, the concepts and the process are all the same. So that's what homebrewing is to me. And that helps you understand what to expect in the future from this channel. But what is homebrewing to you? Because what it means to you, your context, your perspective, it defines the goals and the approach you have to the hobby. And that defines the information that you seek out, the knowledge that you want to learn. See, everyone has a different approach to homebrewing. They have a different idea of what it is and what they're trying to get out of it. If you're new, you might just be trying to make something drinkable. You probably just care about the basics without learning all the science behind it. Other homebrewers might be veterans, but not quite experts. See, that was me not too long ago, and probably to an extent still today. At that point, I had been brewing for well over a decade, but I was still doing all the basic stuff that I had learned how to do way back at the beginning. And a lot of that knowledge and those practices were outdated, or there were just better ways to do it. So at that point, I went on a deep dive to learn as much as I could and unlearn any of my bad habits. And that led me to start documenting what I was learning and the correct way of doing things. And so then I wanted to start sharing it, so I started a website and started posting it over on the ultimatehomebrewersguide.com. And so that's added a whole new layer to my homebrewing context, because now I want to learn not just for me, but to share it. And that means not just having the information, but knowing why and being able to back it up with facts and science. See, your context and your idea of homebrewing is not just about where you're at. It's not about experience or knowledge. It's also about what you're trying to get out of it. So what are you trying to get from homebrewing? For example, some people actually want to be commercial brewers. So they're doing homebrewing now to learn what they need to learn in order to open a craft brewery or meadery or something in the future. And that person's approach, their processes, their recipes, even the equipment they choose to use is going to be very different from the brewer who just wants to make something good and have fun doing it. And then you have the degenerates over on the Prison Hooch subreddit who are just fermenting whatever they have available, regardless of quality and even taste. And you also need to consider your age and your financial status and your lifestyle. And all of these things go into defining what your idea of homebrewing is. And it's important to understand it. It helps you frame the discussion when talking to anybody about the hobby. It helps you understand where they're coming from, and it helps them understand where you're coming from. On a more personal note, it helps you find the information you're actually looking for if you actually know what you're looking for. But then for me, and in terms of this channel and the content that I want to put out, the things I want to talk about, it's important for me to understand the viewers, your context, your perspective, what you think homebrewing is. I want to have content that meets people where they are, wherever they are, and it helps them do whatever they're trying to do. And I want to help you expand your knowledge in the direction you actually want to go and help you achieve whatever your goals actually are. So what does homebrewing mean to you? Where are you at in your homebrewing journey? What kind of goals and ambitions do you have going forward? And what does that mean for the kind of information you'd be most interested in? Let me know in the comments below. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.